Oil Hair Tonic, the non-alcoholic hair tonic that contains lanolin, wild root cream oil. Again and again, the choice of men who put good grooming first.
You asked interrogative questions out of my face. It's gone.
What are you doing?
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now, Al?
Hey, kids. It's your old pal, ML Elric, candidate for president of Michigan State University, because I think today is the deadline for the current president to resign, although maybe it's not, because maybe the people who we thought want him to resign don't want him to resign, but I'm not really sure. But before the end of the show, we hope to have that mess sorted out. And to help us do that, we've assembled some of the finest minds in southeastern Michigan, Mike and Brian, who are sitting in as guests. And hopefully they're going to offset the usual gang of idiots who are here, which starts with... I don't know. It's kind of a tie for first. Let's go with Sean Windsor.
You couldn't do that to Mark.
Then there's Mark Fellhauer. And I was going to throw Tresa in there, Tresa Baldas, who's my colleague at the Detroit Free Press. She's a senior reporter at the Detroit Free Press because she's been there a tremendously long time. She's actually quite aged, but she's here to share some of her wisdom and experience with us. So we're grateful.
Just
for her
your colleague?
She's just my colleague.
Yeah.
I'm a professional.
Your colleague in life?
I don't know that she deserves that. She doesn't want to be an accomplice on that misbegotten journey. But we are married. I should probably disclose that, I guess.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so there you go. So before we get into our discussion, Sean wanted to tell us something about Belvin.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, sorry. Sorry, Mark.
Why are you apologizing to me? What did I do?
Because I know you like the Belvin stories.
Oh.
Are you okay, by the way? You're flitting over there.
I am? No, I'm just working.
Yeah? Doing your thing?
Checking levels, all that fun stuff.
Well, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but there's soon to be a fourth show on the Red Shovel Network, the Belvin and Charlotte podcast.
Okay. She won't do it. But
she won't do
okay,
it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She won't even do podcasts. Do you know my daughter does podcasts with me?
Yeah.
For shits and giggles. She named it Shits and Giggles.
I was going to say.
She got a potty mouth for an 8-year-old.
Yeah, she got a better compensation package than we do. It's all shit, no giggles here.
That's awesome.
Okay, what are we doing?
Sean wanted to get us going.
I had a.
He's thrown you the ball like 3 times.
No, but I wanted to include you.
Thank you.
I feel like Cade McNamara.
We don't include you enough. You know what I mean?
Okay, what does that mean? Is that just your only way of taking a shot at?
No, I'm throwing the ball, but it ain't going anywhere. Come on, let's go.
Well, I mean, Big Ten champion last year.
That's why he's not starting.
Last year.
I guess
no,
he was
because they have
so
someone
good.
better. What's wrong with that?
Jake Rudock.
That's how life works.
Okay, I read that.
You know what? I feel really.
That's why competition sucks.
Of course you feel bad.
I rarely feel bad for athletes in general
Because they're not human beings to you?
No, they are human beings. I don't. Especially professional athletes, I think that's just the deal when you get paid a lot of money in that. I think you understand that. College is a little different. I felt really bad for McNamara because he's trying really hard. He's okay. The guy behind him is just a hell of a lot better, and he's proved it.
Cade McNamara has done something I thought I would never see happen, which is he makes Jim Harbaugh look like he knows what he's doing at Michigan.
You never thought you'd see that?
I never thought I'd see that. There's been no evidence to date of that whatsoever.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, speaking of football, how about that, Mark?
Please.
Okay.
I don't want to argue with him.
No, we don't need to argue. Just real quickly, I assume you know the Lions opened their season. They lost 38-35 to Philadelphia Eagles. They scored that many points once last year, and they did it against the Green Bay Packers, who sat their starters at the end of the season, right? If they're preparing for the playoffs. So I wrote in my column that fact that they set their starters, and then transitioning back to the game Sunday, I was making a little joke, and I wrote, and this listener to this podcast, I assume, I'm hoping you guys can help me figure this out here, quoted my column back to me, and let me read this quick 2 sentences.
Did they refer to you as Jon Windsor in the email? Because if they did, they listened to the podcast.
Yeah, they did. No. Okay. So here's what I wrote, what he sent me. He's quoting me. Philadelphia didn't sit its starters, as far as I know. Starters that made up one of the better defenses in the NFL a year ago. So he quotes me that. Then he writes to me, as far as you know, Does the free press mean you work for free? Why not take the time to check the Eagles lineup from last season? Are you so busy? So he clearly didn't get the sarcasm, right?
Yeah.
In the column. Then he goes on to say, the fact that your podcast is unprofessional, and so at this point, I'm not sure which one he's talking about.
I'm pretty sure I know which one.
I'm this one,
about, but I'm a gentleman, so.
And then he says, and this is the giveaway, as are your sloppy clothes, because there's no camera with the Free Press podcast.
Yeah.
So he can't see me.
Unless he's sitting on your expansive property in Ann Arbor and
With a pair of
watching
binoculars?
you as you shower.
In my little cement hovel. So he says, the fact that your podcast is unprofessional,
Percheron
as
Stallions.
are your sloppy clothes. He actually wrote is. I'm changing the agreement there to make him look a little smarter. He says that does not bother me. I still listen, but please do your homework. You embarrass yourself.
Ooh.
So this is a sloppy,
How embarrassing.
unprofessional podcast. Not sloppy. This is an unprofessional podcast.
I like sloppy.
And I thought, okay, I'm in a hoodie that says the Soul of Detroit, so I'm pimping your line.
It's very fetching. In fact, soon we hope to reopen the merchandise store so everybody can be this sloppy. But technically this is a professional podcast because we're meagerly compensated, but we certainly would lose our eligibility if we were college athletes. Although I guess now we could be even more handsomely compensated with it.
But I just wanted to ask, am I that slovenly dressed?
A little bit,
at
but
least
that's fine.
Relative to y'all,
Sure. I mean, you're not coming in a suit and a tie, but who gives a shit?
or is it my posture?
I don't know.
I sit like a question mark. Is that the problem?
It doesn't bother me one bit, so I don't care. Ask the. I'll be sexist. Ask the female in the room.
I was going to say he's clean shaven.
Well, that's rare.
Yeah.
I mean, I shave for the reader, listener here.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that you have the demeanor of a recently rehabilitated homeless man. I mean, kind
a
of.
little bit. That's what makes him so endearing, though.
Yeah.
So there you go. Somebody
Does it hurt your feelings at all?
no. I mean, what? Somebody that doesn't understand a little. Sorry, mister. I'm not going to mention your name. I don't want to call you out that way.
Isn't it hard to write?
I appreciate you that you still listen and read, by the way.
Okay, there's 3 writers in here. Is it hard to write sarcasm?
Apparently.
I guess so.
Belvin at Gmail didn't get it.
No, he didn't. No. Oh, yeah, it's very hard to write sarcasm.
I don't get to. I cut
right?
the cords.
Yeah,
I
that's
can't
true.
Be sarcastic, although I try.
You do. I mean.
Well, I wrote this week. It was a fairly serious column, but I included a joke about how our libel lawyer also represents Dr. Dre, and he's also another, famous person like me who does fat rhymes and dope beats, or is it dope beats or fat rhymes and whatever?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if anybody's going to really get that, but I figured. If they haven't fired me yet, I can pretty much do whatever I want.
Surprised they didn't edit it out.
I think most people probably get the little phrase, as far as I know, that they understand I was kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
As far as I know.
Well, what you did was you got early Lions season reaction, which basically means the fact that they lost a close game means they could go 16-1. And so how dare you talk about the Lions? Within a couple weeks, that same person is going to be saying, fire Dan Campbell, make the Hamp Ford family sell the team, blah, 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 blah,
The best
blah.
line I saw was of Facebook, somebody from the Free Press account that wrote, you can't spell delusional without Lions.
Oh, that's good. That's
really?
solid.
I thought that was good.
I was reading responses to your column you wrote about
Which one? Cade?
No, about the patsies that get scheduled in college football.
Oh, yeah.
So I was reading those responses, and what cracked me up about it is people were all over you about these schools get paid money. They're paying them money. And I'm like, he wrote that like 5 times in the story. So I assume people will just read a paragraph or worse, just the headline, which you guys don't write, and then jump all over you.
Well, among those responses was an email sent directly to me from a guy who said, you only mention the fact that other schools do this once.
Huh?
Yeah. Like Michigan's not clearly not the only school that schedules these games, right? Everybody does. And I wrote that in the column.
Yeah.
He was pissed that I didn't do it. Like, I think Mike was making a joke
we talked
about that.
Mitch
last
Albom's
week.
the only guy who says the same thing 5 times. Now, like Mitch, Sean has an orphanage, but it's in Chelsea, and some people have confused it with a bunny ranch.
Well, it's actually part of the Jiffy Mix factory out there.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
Yeah,
I thought
so,
you were going to bring us some.
Oh, they grind the corn. We make the cornmeal. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Paying
So
a couple bucks an hour.
So you can bring us some those famous Windsor polenta cakes.
You think Jiffy is well, no, I prefer Jiffy.
Would you get those
Sweet.
from Gordon Food Services as well?
I love Sean Windsor food tangents.
I liked that column, by the way.
Which one?
Go ahead
One
and
about
get on that mic a little
this-
more
so
if you
you
can.
got-
Yeah, right. Okay. Ooh, somebody can't hear me. That's a first. But
That is
no,
true.
I like the column about why these big schools play these little schools. It's you go to these games, it's a blowout. It's not. And the fact that they make money, it's
Late stage capitalism. as
I
Mark
don't
would-
like it.
As Mark would say.
Yeah.
the
very much.
Akron game at Michigan State was, it was fun. I was glad to be there, but they shouldn't be playing a big school like that. I mean, if they want to, great, but it's you're paying all this money to watch one big team blow out another one.
We
think it's
don't
stupid.
allow that in any other sport, any other level of sport in our society, really. I mean, we separate high schools out
Right.
for that very reason,
Right,
right?
right.
We don't do it in the pros. I mean, we do it, but for some reason we do it with college football.
Well, I mean, the Yankees are going to play the Tigers, which is the equivalent of the Spartans playing the Akron Zips, but they only have so many teams. I mean, the difference is college football, you have 120 teams to pick from. How'd you pick Akron,
Right. No, for sure.
You could have picked Georgia Southern, who took Scott Frost out in Nebraska.
Or
That was
Marshall.
amazing.
Or Appalachian State.
Oh my
Again,
God! What a great weekend this was for upsets. Oh my God!
And Appalachian State, you love hearing that name because it takes you back to when they knocked out
Michigan.
Yeah,
And
did they
you
beat
still
Michigan?
have
I thought that was Toledo.
excitement from that, don't you?
I was at my parents' house when Notre Dame was losing, and I was thoroughly enjoying it as a Michigan guy. And my mom's like, "Why?" I'm like, they're all assholes." It's just kind of my response. I'm like, just like Spartans. They're all. I was just loving it. And my mom goes, "So are Michigan fans." And I just went, "I know, but I'm one of them." And that's how.
Your mom didn't know you went to Michigan?
No, oh, she hates that I went to Michigan. But the whole thing is just.
When did you tell her? Just last week?
What, that I went there?
Yeah.
No, she knows.
Okay.
Believe me, she tells me all the time.
So that
Sorry,
new,
Mike. I know
wish
it's
you
your
didn't
show.
go there.
no, that new Notre Dame coach, I couldn't help but notice, is now 0-3. That's pretty bad because he
Yeah,
lost that
no, they
bowl
hired
game
him- they hired
where they
him.
were doing great and they blew it.
But he gave a great speech and it went viral.
Exactly.
You know?
Great guy, great recruiter. Hired him because they were flipped out because Brian Kelly left.
Let's see if he can do better than Scott Frost.
So does this mean that Ohio State's not that good because Notre Dame put a scare
No,
into
Ohio State's
Ohio
really
State
good.
at
They'll
the shoe?
still they'll
means
beat
nothing.
Sparty.
Okay. Oh, I
beat
think
everybody.
I think they're going to run the table.
I don't know that they'll beat Michigan. We'll see.
They're playing in Columbus, right?
They'll beat 'em.
They're due. It's been 20 years.
And Cade McNamara won't be quarterback, so I don't know what chance Michigan has.
Okay.
Okay.
You say so.
So we brought Tresa.
That was
on.
not in the rundown.
I know it's in my version.
No, fun never is.
It's my. you
Yes, sir. Yes,
can't
boss.
spell-
Okay, let's get to the serious show now.
Hey, he's thinking of a joke.
You
Hang
can't
on.
spell rundown without
Yeah, he is thinking of
frun. So you can't spell frundown without frun.
Teresa, help him out. He's
So,
trying.
yeah.
I can't. There's no help.
So
Does he do this at home?
Teresa has some correspondence
Wait,
to share.
time
with
out,
us.
time out.
Yeah.
Does he do this at home if you're talking to him? Does
Time
he-
out from the game. You sound like the water boy.
Interruptions, you mean?
Well, I'm just thinking of a joke that takes a long time to get to.
His stories take a long time some to get to. And I know he's going to laugh because that's the pot calling the kettle black. But he'll tell me something, and I'm like, okay, wrap it up. I've got things, and he's going on and on and on.
You
and
tell
on.
him to wrap it up, or you?
No,
thinking
I don't.
that?
I think it.
Okay.
But oops, my headset's falling.
But you're telling him here now, so he's learning something.
That's right.
He wrote ML, and I don't know why I'm using he when you're sitting across from me. You wrote a really, really good column, and I printed it out to read, and my first thought was, Jesus Christ, 9 pages. What a long story.
What size font did you use?
Well, no, look. I mean, this is it.
Okay, that's
And it
nine-
was a really
That's
good story.
9-point font.
So I read the whole thing. I get to the end. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know what I would have taken out of it. So
Yeah.
I imagine it was probably 90 pages when you turned it into the editors.
No.
Did you help him edit? Do you help him edit?
They
I'll
didn't
read 'em.
stop the Bible after the 10 Commandments, Mark.
Fair enough. Fair point.
No, but I think
And Mark and Mike and Brian know because they
Catholic. A lot of
send their
Catholics
kids to
down here.
Catholic school.
But
so
to Mark's
let's hear it
question-
for it's our Guardian
trying.
Angels, right?
Yeah, I will try. Here.
They never played St. Clair, so we can cheer for Guardian.
In
But to
Clawson,
Mark-
Michigan.
To Mark's point, Teresa, though, to his question, actually, does he do this at home? What if you're having a serious conversation? You're talking about, say, bills or the mortgage, or when your kids were younger and how to discipline them in some ways. Do the jokes come out in the middle of those conversations?
No, he's serious. He can definitely be serious.
Okay, because that's what I thought.
Yeah, he's very serious when you guys would fight and yell at each other. Those were the best.
I don't remember that. I've expunged
those are
that.
so
from-
I
great.
do.
I've expunged that. From
It's the only
I
reason.
thought that was off mic.
It's the only reason I won
I
ML.
thought the worst of that was off mic.
I don't really ever want you to run for public office again, except that you guys will fight.
It was so
Wait a
bad.
second. I thought that was off mic and all.
It was
in all
so bad that Mike Bellata left each of us with a business card in case we needed representation.
Wasn't that off mic?
No, it was in front of ML's mom.
That
Yeah,
was.
that was not on the. That
No,
was not
we
on
had
mic.
we had a blowout with Bellata. We had my mom said that's why she doesn't contribute to the show anymore because she doesn't want to support Sean Windsor and his potty mouth.
But that was not on camera
Plus
on
her
the mic
Social
when your
Security
mom was
got
here.
adjusted.
The intent. No, a lot of it was the intense stuff.
No,
was
when
off.
we
I wish
when
it
we
wasn't.
actually that's the one time we got actually frustrated with each other, really frustrated. That was not recorded.
No, but that kind of ended like the jerk where Sean's like, I don't need any of you. Then he walks, but I do need my car keys. And he walks, I don't need any of you guys. He said, but I do need my chair. And he's, I don't need any of you guys, but I do need this thermos.
It did happen.
Or in the Mark Wahlberg movie where it was the rock star movie.
I never saw that.
Rockstar.
He quit.
Rockstar,
Remember,
yeah,
he quit the
uh-huh.
band and he comes back in. That mic is mine. I'm taking that.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Oh, that headscarf is mine. Yeah.
Sounds like Shawn Michaels. Who's the rock star who always wears
Here we go.
the headscarf?
I know. Let's move along.
Brett Michaels.
Brett Michaels, yes.
EDD.
You'll never hear him on Room 769.
This is my
'cause he
fault,
sucks.
Teresa, actually.
Okay.
So no, I
Normally
said,
I'm
Teresa,
quiet.
I thought you had an email to share with us, and then Mark referenced some very fine journalism.
You want me to share that email now?
Yeah.
Okay. So keep in mind, I cover the courts and I cover a lot of controversial issues, but whenever I write about issues of race or immigration, the Black Lives Matter movement, the haters come out big time. And I recently wrote this story about.
Feels like a long story.
All right, I'll go faster. USA Today version. Black woman casino winner wins a jackpot at a casino.
For how much?
It was over $12,000. And she goes to a bank in Livonia to open an account and deposit it. And when she goes there, she says three different tellers all told her the check was fraudulent and took it from her and wouldn't give it back. It was a pretty rough day for her. Long story short, she leaves the bank upset, demands they give it back to her. She goes down to a nearby Chase bank. They let her open an account. She deposits it. The check clears the following day. Anyway, she's now suing the bank for race discrimination.
God, I wish the tellers who were letting bad checks in my name go through were that tough.
Can I ask a couple questions about that?
Yeah, you
so,
can.
So she didn't have an account at the bank.
She did not.
Is that one of the reasons it was flagged, or they thought it might have been fraudulent because they like you to bank where you have an account in
Right,
general?
but she wasn't asking to cash it. She said, "I want."
she wanted to deposit.
She wanted to deposit it. She went and said, "I want to open an account so I can deposit my gambling this check."
Yeah, well,
and they
that's-
looked at it, and she said the first person told her this is fraudulent. She said, "What?" Then they bring in a second bank employee.
Why did they think it was fraudulent?
They didn't say, but I know
That's
on
weird.
what they didn't recognize the logo. They didn't recognize
What,
the
of the
font.
MGM Grand Casino?
This was from Soaring Eagles
Eagle.
Casino.
Oh.
So they asked her for ID. They asked her where she worked. She said, "I'm a retired Detroit Public Schools employee." She gave them their license. Her name and her license matched what was on the check.
Yeah.
Again, she wasn't asking them to cash it. She said, "I want to open an account to deposit it." And a third bank teller gets called in, and the part that really angered her was they wouldn't give her the check back, and they kept telling her that it was fraudulent. So she said, "How do you know it's fraudulent?" And they wouldn't explain it. And then they took her into a manager's office, and that's when she's 71 years old.
Yeah.
She grew up during the Jim Crow era. She's seen racism before. She knows what it looks like. But at this point, she's like, "Give me my check back." She said, "I'm going to call 911 or I will. Give me my check back." And after much back and forth, they finally gave her the check back.
Which is incredible because they can verify whether has anybody opened an account with like Venmo where they use Plaid to verify that your bank account is good?
Yeah,
Establishing that there are funds in an account, that something's legitimate, that's like one of the easiest things there is.
Does that mean you set up a Venmo account for the show that you're supposed to do months ago?
Talking to me or him?
ML.
I know. Let's go back to the bank story because I want to
in the
give
middle
the
of a
bank's
fascinating
version.
story.
I'm
Mark.
sorry. Well, no, I had a lot of
I'm going
questions
to jump
about
in
it.
here.
The answer is
and
no,
I'm
I
sure
have
you
not set
will.
up that account.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's racist. I just think it should have ended at, hey, if you're opening an account and you're depositing it, it either clears or it doesn't clear. Pretty simple.
I'm going to give the bank. So the bank didn't call me back for 4 days. I kept.
Well, they
calling
put it on
them.
hold too, right? You deposit a check and they sit on it for a couple days.
That's what I mean.
and-
It just
yeah.
got clear.
There's a number of things they could have done, but the bank it took 4 days to get back to me, and I said, "Listen, you've got to say something. I know, the typical response is we don't comment on pending litigation." I said, "Listen, the story went viral. People were losing their minds," and so they came back to me, and their explanation is this: that they were trying to verify the authenticity of the check, and that she got frazzled and left. This is their story. So I asked, I said, "Well, did you tell her the check was fraudulent?" They wouldn't answer. In the lawsuit, they neither denied nor admitted that they told her the check was fraudulent, right? And I think that, and that's what her lawyer keeps getting back to. It's like, listen, they cannot get around this question. Why would you tell a woman your check is fraudulent? If they there's a number of ways they can handle this, and they didn't. And
the lawsuit is for racial discrimination.
It's she thinks they did it because she was black.
It's going to be, that'll be a very hard thing to prove that they decided the check was fraudulent because of the color of the person's skin. As opposed to
they
what
denied.
the check looked like.
The argument is going to be they wouldn't they wouldn't let her bank there, that they mistreated her, that they was it race motivated? That's a hurdle that perhaps they won't be able to get over. But here's what's interesting: you couldn't bring this lawsuit in Mississippi. Or in many other states. Michigan has a unique law that says it's illegal to discriminate against someone based on their race in any public area. So any place the public goes, a bank, the public goes there, you can't you can't discriminate against someone. Our federal laws don't say that. They have employment laws that say you can't fire or hire or mistreat someone at work based on race, age, gender, a number of things. But it does not. It does not address this particular issue, and most states don't have this law in the books either. So, this can happen. Somebody can mistreat a black person, a gay person, a woman, an old person. In public places in other states, and then it's legal.
Where was the Chase Bank where she had some success?
In Livonia.
Also in Livonia?
Also in Livonia. And I wrote another case about this 2 years ago. This is crazy. This is irony. A black man won a race discrimination lawsuit against his employer, and they gave him his settlement check. And he goes to the bank to cash his settlement check from an employment lawsuit, and they wouldn't cash the check for him. He got to the point, he's like, they were, this doesn't look legitimate. He had an account there. He calls his lawyer, Deb Gordon, and gets her on the phone. She said, "Please call the bank." And she said, "This is my client. This is a legitimate employment lawsuit discrimination." And they wouldn't catch. She said, "Fine." She hung up. She sued him. And
Did he win that one
the
too?
case settled confidentially.
Wow.
That's what I call compounding with interest.
So
but they're going to have trouble with this too, because I think most banks have video that runs at the teller booths. So this issue of who said what and what their demeanor was, I'm sure they've already subpoenaed.
But do they
all
have
of
microphones,
video.
or is it just video?
Oh, yeah, no, I think they do. Yeah, I think they do.
It's not just silent security cameras.
No, I
The
think
bank? No, I doubt
I
it.
think they record those transactions.
Well, there you go.
And they also the bank has said we have video and of our employees calling the casino to verify the check. I said that fair enough. I said, but did you tell her it was fraudulent? That's the question. Why would you tell a woman your check is fraudulent if you don't know?
So what's the email?
Yeah, what was the response you
here-
got from him?
Yeah, I thought I had the long story.
You get a lot of emails, but here's and this is a
That story was interesting, Emil.
Thank you.
Your mom was right. You're a disgrace
I'm
to the
gonna-
Fellhauers of Columbus, Ohio.
Disclaimer: this has some swearing in it. And I get this email. Well, guess what, you race stirring pot bitch, all caps. I am white, all caps, and the same thing happened to me. And I've been dealing with that bank for a very long time. There's definitely more to the story. Joey Biden Dick Sucker.
Huh?
And,
That's his name?
That's what he called me.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, boy, that's a tough name to give a kid.
And I usually don't share my emails, but that one I rolled my eyes.
My follow-up is I'd love to know if that person emailed you after your Wayne County Airport story about reverse discrimination, and if he felt that was discrimination.
Oh, I sent him that story.
Oh, you did?
I did. My standard response to most people, whether you give me a good email or a bad email, is thanks for taking time to read the free press, and thanks for reaching out.
Yeah.
I do the same.
And just a common courtesy, I may add a few extras. I try not to get nasty sometimes. I rarely ever do, but sometimes I just can't help myself.
I used to
Just
say
escalate.
thanks
And
for
then I
having
say,
somebody read
perhaps
the
this
free
story
press
may
to you.
interest you. And then I send them a link to the story about.
Yeah, the woman who was fired who worked for Wayne County Airport.
Right.
Because it's a reverse discrimination lawsuit. She alleges because she was white.
Right.
And it seems that there's a lot of evidence to that point. She's
Well-
going to have to prove it in court.
Yeah, I mean, she claims that that the airport is going so that the airport is so hell bent on making sure that their employers are largely African American that they're discriminating against white people in the process, and they're also making it difficult for white people to discipline black employees. Because they want to keep black employees so badly. I'm not saying this, by the way. This is in the lawsuit.
Yeah.
And so she called for the termination of two black women at the airport who she said, listen, I've read they're not coming to work. They're not showing up. When they are, it's late. They're not doing their job. I think they need to be fired. And then she was fired. And she thinks it's because she said bad things about black people she worked with. And she said, I'm not the only one here. A lot of white people
There
know.
was another accusation in the story, and I guess presumably in the lawsuit, about Dennis Archer Jr., who's on the board.
Oh, yeah.
For Wayne County Airport.
Yes.
That was his first question when somebody was hired. Is it a brother?
Is it a brother?
Then he had a
Right.
really Janet Jackson quote.
Yeah.
in
What
the
have you
news.
done? The lawsuit quotes
Is that
Dennis
a-
Archer Jr. as being at a meeting when the board supposedly decided to make it a priority to have more blacks on staff.
Is that on record? Like, do they do minutes of there, or is that just what people are saying?
No,
he
they've
said?
got recordings of
Okay,
this.
That's what I was thinking.
And so when a new fire chief, I think, was hired, or a deputy fire
Yeah.
chief at the airport, and his first question was allegedly, is he a brother? And then he followed up with. Like Janet Jackson says,
Yeah,
what
well-
have you done for me lately? Which doesn't really make sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
But whatever.
She didn't say it's Mr. Archer if you're nasty. That would have been really weird.
And just the term, by the way, reverse discrimination. I can't tell you how many emails I got for putting that in the story.
Oh, really?
Yes. White people very upset that there's no such thing as reverse discrimination. Discrimination is discrimination.
Okay.
So stop throwing the word reverse in there. And so,
Okay.
I had
Semantics, but
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
That matters. To some people.
Yeah.
Right, Sean?
Yeah, whatever you say, Mark.
Why are you looking at me like that?
Like what?
I don't know. I thought Teresa.
You just look sharp today.
I thought
Particularly-
I thought those were
particularly
two
sharp.
really good stories,
Thank you.
and I hope ML told you that because I tell him
He did.
Okay.
He did.
I actually may have given her a tip on one of the stuff, but the
Oh boy, if looks could
such-
kill. That was a great look from.
He's just such.
Which story? Which one?
one of the stories, one of my sources contacted me. I said, I think this is a good story.
That's what makes you guys a great partnership.
Was it the? Oh, yeah. You're right. He's right.
Well, he
you know
may
what?
be
You don't
right,
hear that a lot in
technically.
my
I was
house.
just saying music to his
Here's
ears.
the thing. I write so many stories, I lose track. I forgot about the Wayne County Airport lawsuit. I almost forgot about the the casino gambler lawsuit because I've been bogged down covering the
You almost
Whitmer
forgot to
kidnap
put your phone
trial,
on silent.
the Crumbly trial. It's
Ding.
Busy. Okay, ding. Is my phone on silent?
Yeah, no, it's not. It's
Teresa,
you've
he
got a
may
few
be-
notifications.
Former
Look, it's our
broadcaster-
kids. Tell Dad to stop being so mean. Oh,
Our adopted kids. Nothing wrong with adoption, but
You know what? Maybe he was right. Technically, there was a tip in there somewhere, but the fact that he wanted to say that on air, come on.
Oh, he's messing around. Are you? Are you messing around?
what's that?
I mean, he is and he isn't.
How did Teresa help you with the Wayne County judge story
Yeah.
The Wayne County
that you
judge.
wrote? The one story that you wrote.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Segue into what you want to
yeah.
talk about.
She helped me by doing an outstanding story a few years ago about how this horrible murder case that happened in downtown Detroit about 10 years ago was essentially going to be reopened because Judge Tracy Green, who I had exposed when I was at Fox 2 as being involved in the cover-up of child abuse involving her own grandsons, was going to give an evidentiary hearing to this guy who was convicted of murdering his girlfriend. And it was, if you have new evidence, you can convince a judge to give you an evidentiary hearing, which can lead to a new trial and all this stuff. Well, basically, this guy just had some lawyers who were running back some bullshit that hadn't worked the first time with a new expert, and Tresa wrote about it and about how it was re-traumatizing the parents of the young woman who was murdered. And I read the story. It's a very good story. It's actually quite long.
Yeah, 9 pages.
2,500 words or something. But maybe 3,000. It was very long. But anyways, it was very good. It was a long story, well told. And I noticed that Tracy Green was the judge on this. And so when I wrote my column this weekend about Tracy Green being found to be a liar by other judges, which is a fairly extraordinary event, I went back and looked at some of the other cases she'd been involved in that also raised questions about her judgment that the Judicial Tenure Commission hadn't considered, such as what she did to this other family by letting this basically brutal rich murderer have another shot at this and putting his parents through the dead girl's parents through another trial 10 years after they had kind of tried to come to peace with it. And I also brought up
That victim's name is Diana DeMeo.
When are we getting back to Teresa?
well, I was asked to.
Yeah, that's all right.
He asked how I helped, and that's how.
He needed to. He read my story, and he needed to get in touch with
As far as you
the
know.
victim's mom.
As far as you know.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was.
But Tracy Green is no fan of yours.
She probably doesn't like me. I know her son really doesn't like me. He sued me and Fox 2. I think it's the only time in 30 years in journalism I've been a defendant in a lawsuit that wasn't dismissed like immediately or mentioned as like, oh, then maybe I'll get some kind of toss in. And Tracy Green was in the process of being investigated by the Judicial Tenure Commission, which looks at wrongdoing or potential wrongdoing by judges and tries to determine whether they are fit to continue to serve as judges, whether they should be disciplined, that sort of thing. And they were in the process of basically blowing her out when her son sued me and Fox. It was a frivolous lawsuit. The gist of it was, and this was also in the column, and we'll have a link to that column
And we've talked
on our
about this
website.
case.
Yeah, and we'll have a link to Teresa's stories on the website so we can get everybody excited who believes in discrimination, reverse discrimination, and whether there's a difference there or not. But Junior sued me for defamation of character for reporting that he was accused of child abuse, and he filed his lawsuit after he had been convicted of child abuse, and a judge threw it out immediately. It was deemed a nuisance lawsuit and all this other crap. But in the course of all this stuff that was going on, I was called to testify against his mother in the Judicial Tenure Commission hearings because the Judicial Tenure Commission was using a clip from the story I did at Fox 2 in which she denied putting makeup on her grandson's face to cover up child abuse. And this became a key point because she was playing games with the language and at some point had determined that the only way she might wriggle out from under the hammer was to say, no, I never said I didn't put makeup on their face. I just didn't put makeup on their face to cover up
Bruises.
child abuse. And it's very uncomfortable for reporters when they are called to testify. I mean, Sean, have you ever been in a situation, or Teresa, where somebody said, hey, we need you to be a witness or we need you to take the stand on something?
No, I just get people saying I'm an asshole and delusional and a fool. And
As far as they know.
well, no, they're probably right. But no, that's about.
I got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fort Worth. What? No, sorry.
No, but what about with your writing?
Teresa, yeah. I mean, no, you've never written about something where somebody said, I mean, when you were a news reporter, you covered a lot of sensitive subjects where somebody said, well, I'm filing a lawsuit and I need you to.
But would never do it, right? It would just be a threat.
But I mean, has that ever happened to you?
I was never sued like you were.
No, I understand that, but
People just popping off. But that was about it.
so you've never had to
went anywhere.
consider whether you would take
No.
the witness stand.
Have you ever been deposed for, like, has your paper, wherever you were, been sued and they had to interview you, or?
No,
Wow.
no.
Teresa?
I haven't been deposed. I have gotten requests for people asking me for help in their lawsuits. I tell them I can't.
Yeah.
A couple of criminal cases where attorneys have reached out and tried to get information from me, and then I said, you know what, everything I know was in my story. I can't help you.
See, I think that would happen a lot where people would reach out to reporters for info.
Oh, they do. They definitely. I get reached out to all the time.
And the answer is always no.
Right? Can you do this? Can you call this lawyer for me? Can you do that? You always get asked for help, but I've been threatened. I mean, I've been threatened to be sued.
People do want to know how they can get tickets to games. So I get that request.
Used to get that for concerts all the time. Like, let me know because I want to go to those shows too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, reporters don't like to testify, and I can recall a case 20 years ago where there was a reporter at the Free Press who was called to testify, and basically just to verify that what we had published was what was true, as if we're in the business of publishing stuff that's false. And he was getting legal advice from our lawyer saying, don't take service when the process server comes up. Don't take it. Hide in your garage. If you're hiding in your garage and they come to the garage, go out a window and run. And I mean, reporters will go to all sorts of lengths, not because we don't want to assist in the process of determining what's just, but because we don't want to be perceived as being on one side or the other. And so you say, as judges often say, that they'll say a court speaks through its orders. We say that our reporting speaks through what's published. And if there's something we didn't publish, we obviously didn't feel it was fit to share or wasn't confirmed. And so we don't want to go on the record in a courtroom if we weren't willing to go on the record in a newspaper. So when I was called to testify, my initial reaction is, hell no, but I wasn't a reporter at the time. I wasn't planning on going back to journalism. And so I consulted with the attorney on the case, defending me and Fox 2, who's one of the best First Amendment lawyers in the country. And he said, yeah, why not? So I said, okay. But I figured that if I was going to be a witness, depending on how it went, I would probably be more like a Ron Swanson type of witness.
Oh, this kind?
When it comes to government hearings, the only type of witness I enjoy being is a hostile one.
Now, I've heard you be kind of a dick, believe it or not, a few times. Usually in a very lovable way.
I don't.
But you sent me this YouTube. Is it deposition? Is that what you call it? Or
no, this was a hearing.
This was a hearing. Because of the
I was a sworn
tenure.
witness, and it was a judicial hearing overseen by a judge.
You were so put out. You were such an asshole.
And we
you were right, but you were such an asshole about it.
And people can watch all of this. It's all on YouTube. If you go to the Michigan Judicial Tenure Commission page, while you're there, why don't you go to the ML Elric page and sign up for notifications so you know when we're going to go live. It's really easy and it really helps the show. But the lawyer was trying to get me to basically answer these farcical questions. And so it got very frustrating, I think, for both of us. But at some point, you're supposed to only answer yes or no during cross-examinations. But I found the questions required more than a yes or no answer. And,
here's a very simple example.
Would you like me to state the question again?
I'd like you to stick to the facts. So that was things didn't go so well.
You were not happy to be there.
No, and the thing about it is
Do you have more, Mark?
Yeah, there's two other cuts.
Can we get to them?
So
Yeah, get to the cuts.
So one of the issues was that once it got to the point where I wasn't going to cop to this notion that maybe she did put makeup on there because of whatever. I mean, I didn't know that. I could only speak to what she told me. He tried to turn the tables and say that the reason this whole story was about trying to put salacious content on television because I'm a scandal mongerer, and so we had a difference of opinion on that.
So the truth is that you never intended to share any of the information Judge Green gave you during this 3-hour interview because those things did not fit the salacious narrative that you wanted to air, correct?
It was not an interview.
Is that correct?
Your assertion is utterly false.
That was one of the more polite moments.
So I think that was a no. But we had a few clashes where he wanted yes or no questions. But he would ask questions that were sort of like, so you say you love your mother, but you're a liar. It's like, well, yes and no. But, you can't ask compound questions and stuff like that. So he was a very crafty lawyer. I think he did a very good job for a client who was essentially indefensible. Yeah. But after we talked about, his client, he wanted me to try and raise some questions about whether my reporting was biased against his mother because her son had filed a lawsuit against me, but my reporting was published years before the lawsuit. And I think he may have also been trying to suggest that maybe I was being somewhat less cooperative on the witness stand out of spite for being sued, which was not the case. But that's another issue where we cross swords.
Where's the?
He has filed a lawsuit. I don't know if there's a dollar figure attached to it.
You're not aware of the amount of money that he's suing you and Fox 2 News for?
My understanding is in Michigan,
Excuse me, my question was, you're not aware of the amount?
I think I already answered your question.
So that was it. But his whole thing was, the lawsuit was for $10 million. And as Teresa knows from covering the loss,
Nothing.
what happens is when you file, like Figer says, we sued somebody for $100 million.
Yeah.
What happens in the law is there's different levels of court. There's district court, which most people think of as small claims court. Then there's circuit court, which maybe you think of as superior court, whatever. If you watch Law and Order, it's Supreme Court in New York, which is stupid because there's something above the Supreme
Backwards,
Court.
yeah.
But at any rate, what happens is if you file a lawsuit for less than $25,000, it goes into district court, the small claims court. If you file for more than $25,000, it goes into circuit court, or it could go into federal court. But that's it. It just says you only have to be suing for more than $25,000. And it's a jury that ultimately decides how much the lawsuit is worth, and they'll do all kinds. So the notion that somebody's suing you for $10 million doesn't. First of all, I don't think it said that in a lawsuit. Second of all, sue me for $1 billion. Yeah. It's a meaningless thing. It's simply there to try and generate headlines and heat and all this other bullshit. So I was just like, I don't know how much he's suing me for. I know he's a shitbag. And by the way, he's back in prison, so...
the son?
So how do you like that?
How long... That's what I wanted to ask you to wrap it up. Like, how long is he in prison for abusing his kids?
He had been sentenced to 4 to 10 years for child abuse, felony child abuse, and he had gotten out during COVID on some sort of technicality or some sort of loophole. But while he was out, I'm led to believe that he did some jackassery that got him thrown back in the can. But this lawsuit got kicked immediately. In fact, lawsuits sometimes go before an evaluation panel, and there's 3 evaluators. One is supposed to be kind of defense friendly, one's supposed to be plaintiff friendly, and one's supposed to be kind of neutral. All 3 of them unanimously agreed that the value of the lawsuit was $0. And it was frivolous. And when a judge had to rule on whether the case could go forward or not, he said that not only were the reports accurate, but this guy was such a turd that even if I'd made something up, I could not defame the character of somebody who was such an asshole.
Just want to know how long he was in prison.
It gives you kind of free reign, doesn't it?
Oh, 4 to 10, sir.
I did get through. Mark,
as far as I know.
I want to tell this to Mark. Yeah, thank you. You've done that a few times. It's good. It's better each time.
Some people can just detect it better than others.
It's better each time. Yeah. I got threatened with a lawsuit one time because I wrote a restaurant review about a place called Bandito Burritos.
Wait a minute! 10 minutes ago, you said you never been.
But I said threatened, and
my God. Well, you could have brought this up then.
Bandito Burrito, and I think I wrote
emailer's right.
I wrote that the chicken was dry and disappointing or whatever. And they threatened to pull their advertising and sue me. And so the publisher made me meet with the owner of the restaurant and defend my review in a little meeting room right outside the newsroom.
Did you order chicken?
No.
Yeah, why'd you,
Can I jump in here
I said,
for a
just
second?
use fucking thighs and you'll be fine.
Weren't you supposed to say alleged bandito? Isn't that what the problem was? It had never been adjudicated.
So this is a huge kudo to the Detroit Free Press and the USA Today Network. About 2 years ago, I did a big investigation on sex assault and sexual assaults at Jamaican resorts. That the resorts there, American women were getting sexually assaulted, and they were covering it up and paying them off.
I believe, didn't you win an award for this story?
If Mike were telling it, you would start off with that.
But anyway, so I get a cease and desist letter from Sandals Resorts, all right, threatening to sue me, to immediately stop writing these stories, and it came from their general counsel. Anyway, I took it to our attorneys, like, I got this, I'll handle this, and he responded. They made all kinds of threats. And the paper said absolutely. So even after that, we continued. We published 2 more investigations. and one of them largely focused on sandals because I had interviewed so many women from sandals that had problems. So I did not have to cave to any kind of pressure. No, in fact, it inspired me even more just to say, you know what, you can't silence me.
Well, I think the difference in those two stories is you said that Banditos was an advertiser.
Yeah.
Right.
So was sandals.
And sometimes
they
you feel
were?
They were a huge advertiser.
Well,
in
through
USA
the USA
Today.
Today. So
Through
they
USA
changed
Today.
their advertising that says most of our guests won't be raped.
You know what I love about that story, what you just said, Teresa? You said we publish. You said we. You didn't start off with your award. And I'm hoping that somebody here in this room has taken notes on just the humility and how you talk about an investigation you did that was really, really good.
Thank you. That was that.
I'm
I still-
humiliated regularly.
Passive-aggressive douche.
He's
What a
not.
douchey thing to say.
He's not a douche.
How is
No,
that?
I know. I love him.
How is that a douchey thing to say? I'm just giving
Because you're
Mike
attacking
shit.
ML. You can just attack him.
How is that passive
I always
aggressive?
want you
I'm
guys to
clearly, obviously
There
giving
There we
him
go.
shit.
That's what I'm looking for.
Can we have cut number 1 again?
No.
Please.
Stick to the facts, Sean.
You could have it if I didn't close it already.
I think I answered your question already.
Yeah, there you go.
As far as I know.
Would you like me to say the question again?
I'd like you to stick to the facts.
As far as you know.
One last question about Tracy Green. What is the status of her?
So the
judge who-
and this is extraordinary too, because not only did the Judicial Tenure Commission and the special master, which is basically a judge who sits in on it,
Yeah, everyone knows what a special master is now.
not buy any of that stuff. She didn't. They called her a liar.
Really?
I mean, this is throughout their report. They're like liar, not believable, deceitful. I mean, they came down on her hard as a ton of bricks. So they've recommended to the Supreme Court that she be removed from the bench, and the Supreme Court will ultimately make the decision. And this is where
Slow down.
This is where the world is different for you and I, and for people in the legal profession.
Oh, let me guess. She's still getting paid?
She is, but she's not hearing cases. But you and I get in trouble with the law, and we go to court, and a judge or a jury hears the case, and we're convicted.
Or you duck into a driveway and hope the cops drive by.
That's true. No charge were ever brought. But if a judge gets in trouble, here's what happens. A panel of lawyers investigates. First of all, a panel of lawyers has to allow lawyers to investigate the judge. Then the judge has her case heard by a retired judge. Then the lawyers who investigate the judge write a report based on what the judge who investigated the judge says. Then they go to a panel of lawyers and judges to say, here's what we think should happen. Then the panel of lawyers and judges decide what they think should happen. Then they send it to the Supreme Court to decide what should happen. So basically, if you're a lawyer or a judge who's in trouble, every frigging lawyer in the state of Michigan has to agree that you're a complete bag of shit before they'll do anything. And it doesn't that seem ridiculous?
Yeah, but you know why? Because it could be them.
It's
right?
the drunk
They make-
driver
they make
jury
the rules.
problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
It
judging the
could be
judges.
me.
I run into this all the time. Nobody will say anything bad about a judge.
Yeah.
Even during this Whitmer kidnap case, I mean, the defense was furious with the judge. I mean, but they couldn't say it because he could rule against them. They still can't. I mean, I did see them go off a couple times in court. And they told him, "Listen, you're not being fair to us.
Yeah.
You called our arguments crap."
Well, he told them to hurry up, too, which is kind of
Judges
odd.
do that, though. I will
they?
say that I hear it all the time. Like, I never heard as much as I did in this trial. Move along, move along, move along.
No, usually you're saying that at home.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel for the judge. Move it faster.
Wrap it up, Casanova.
But anyway, I'm slow to the punch on that. But yeah, no, nobody wants to judge judges.
I'm sorry.
Hard out. Okay,
Oh, that's good. Too.
Ew.
Oh yeah.
Ew.
I like the
don't think
delayed.
that's
I like the
right.
delayed response
I
here.
think I'm gonna go shopping now.
Just tell Mike that the word "then" is not his friend, and you're good.
Don't try and turn this into a salacious narrative.
Or first of all,
Was that a cue to move on? Because before we do, I need to tell you about a few people.
Yes, please.
Oh.
We should have told you about them a long time ago, except they're pleased not to be in any proximity to what just happened.
Yeah, let's start with Luke Nowacki. He's our buddy over there at Pinnacle Wealth, and he can, give you a complimentary consultation to tell you if you're in the right investments. Do you want to be in equities? Do you want to be in bonds? What is going on with this market? You got to have a plan with your finances. Let your money make money for you. That's Luke Nowacki. Once again, it's a complimentary consultation. He's a really good guy. 248-663-4600. 4748, or you can just click on the link on the website and send them a message that you want to meet up.
And when you call Luke, he makes it all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Royal Alliance Associates Inc. Member FINRA SIPC. Royal Alliance Associates Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Royal Alliance Associates Inc.
And after you talk to Luke, why not call Hall First? That's callhallfirst.com for Hall Financial. More finance advice for you. They had a lot of things going on. It's not just about refinancing. You can get money out of your house because home values have just skyrocketed, so you can give them a call for their cash out refinances. You can put it back into your house. Or if you're getting ready to buy a house, they have the Buy Smart program that's going to help buyers with a down payment assistant. You can receive credit towards your down payment, better interest than a standard loan, reduced mortgage insurance for a first-time home buyer. That's the Buy Smart program. Talk to Hall Financial right now about all these programs they have going on. 866-CALL-HALL, or you can chat with them online at callhallfirst.com.
Oh man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork. Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek? Or we're turning into cool guys?
So normally, as you've heard Sean mention, showing how we cut the woman in half, that I will have some notes on Geek of the Week, but I can't do that this week because this situation is so fluid and we have so many geeks. And I'm speaking to the Michigan State Board of Trustees who...
please explain this to me.
And I wish I could. In fact, since we went live, which if you're watching us on YouTube, thanks very much. Don't forget to like
but
and
do you have a live update?
But no, that's what I'm saying. I haven't looked at the news for an hour, so it may have changed because between Sunday night and today, we had members of the Board of Trustees who wanted the president to resign by Tuesday. Then we had the president of the Board of Trustees saying that the rest of the trustees were getting ahead of themselves and we need to stand behind the president. We need to figure out what's going on. We've seen reports that the Board of Trustees may have hired independent law firms to investigate how the president's handled certain matters. And it's a confusing and a confounding situation and exactly what we don't need in this state, particularly in East Lansing, where we've had 3 presidents now in the last 5 years or so. And after the mess we just had in Ann Arbor, getting Schlissel out of there, I mean, this is not instilling confidence in our public universities. But I'm not saying that they're geeks because they are undermining confidence in our universities. If our universities are not performing well, if they're not worthy of our trust, they shouldn't be trusted. But this is the kind of thing where you would think that the board would have a good idea what they want to do. They would have a notion of what's happening. They should be able to convey that to us because there's this little thing that we hear about in public officials' lexicon all the time that doesn't really seem to mean what they think it means, and that's the word transparency. These universities, particularly our major universities, have gone to the legislature to get permission to basically figure out who's running the university and how they're running it behind closed doors, which is outrageous because these are multi-billion-dollar publicly funded universities with whom we entrust our most precious resources, which is our children. And they don't want to give us any idea what they're doing. And they can't even plausibly tell us anymore, don't worry about it because we know what we're doing, because they don't. Because they let the Nassar stuff go on too far. Bo Schembechler's statue is still standing there in Ann Arbor. They've let these creeps run wild on campuses. Come on.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, they want the president out because he fired the dean of the business school, Sanjay Gupta, the president, Samuel Stanley, over a Title IX investigation. But when you look a little deeper, you don't know exactly what they think the president did wrong, and now it's about a signature. So I feel like they might not just like him, and they're looking for a reason to get rid of him.
Yeah, I mean, and as far as I can tell from the reporting, it's not that Gupta did something wrong, but maybe he didn't handle these reports properly. Yeah. So that leads me to believe that the faculty would be very concerned about this guy. But now the faculty senate is saying, why are you trying to fire the president? We don't know what's going on. So now you have the administration not talking to the faculty representatives. I mean, it doesn't seem like anybody's talking to the people who deserve to be spoken to. They're just kind of muttering amongst themselves and issuing these draconian pronouncements that, resign or be fired. But then they say, well, maybe don't.
It's really weird.
Yeah. So what's going on? I mean, I was in East Lansing this week, and I have no idea what's going on. I follow this stuff real closely, and I'm confused. And as someone who puts a lot of money into the university through tuition, and all of us who are residents of the state of Michigan are putting a lot of money into the university.
Did you see his response?
Don't worry about it. Go ahead.
When his kids are going to college, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But we're all taxpayers. All of our money supports these universities, and we're entitled. We deserve to be in the loop. But so far, the only thing that we've been able to see from the elected leadership at Michigan State in this case is that they don't know what they're doing. And so I think I'm putting it incredibly mildly when I say that they are our Geeks of the Week.
There's an all-night party in room 7609. And you can dance together all night if you've got the time.
So Queen Elizabeth II is no longer with us after 96 years.
What? She died?
Shed.
No one's
this
covering it. I had no
mortal
idea.
Coil. Justin Trudeau has lost one of his best friends in the country and
So weird.
the leader of his government. Yeah, I'm like, skinny jeans hanging out with corgi lady? That seems
He's known her for a long time.
kind of freaky.
Because of Daddy.
Yes, he's known her for his entire life, which amounted to about 10% of her
Exactly.
life. But somebody sent me a clip of Robert Smith from The Cure. It's a great little clip where he's basically saying, the monarchy is ridiculous, or, there's nobody meritus, and then they decide whether they're going to give you, a title, and if anybody offered me a title, I'd tell them the whole thing is ridiculous. And so I think the new wave community is not feeling quite as choked up as the rest of the world.
I think there's a fair amount of the world that's not.
Yeah, it's
a lineage from a feudalist system. I mean, that's an ugly, ugly way we ran this world for a long, long time.
Yeah, but not when she's been alive.
No,
she's a mascot for that country, and I read her really because
there's celebrities that live off the dole, basically, right? I mean,
yeah, but you know what?
Kardashians by birth.
They bring in,
that's exactly right.
They bring in more money for that country than they take.
Yeah,
because I always thought it was dumb too until I saw how much money from tourism and from all the crap they sell.
Here's my guess, and
it brings in a lot of money. They're
not my guess. Here's my question: would people still go to London if it weren't for Buckingham Palace?
Yes,
sure.
Because I think they would.
They have pubs. Yes, I would still go.
Sure, but there is still a romantic thinking about it in general.
That's a very, very to think of it as romantic. You have to be very narrow in that view, right?
Well, the other thing is, as this great
everybody likes a king and queen and princess stories.
We do. We love them. We love the
Kennedys. There you go, the Kennedys. It's a story, and they bring a lot of money in. Now, the other interesting thing, because I think I do think the reaction was a lot more than I never thought the NFL would do a moment of silence. She is technically a head of state. But then I read something which I thought was really intriguing, and it's something they have there because of the royals that we don't, and it's a common bond that represents the whole country. So the whole country goes, it's not the whole, but the majority of the country goes, she is our representative. She is the glue, the constant for 70 years when she reigned. Let's put aside our differences to celebrate our country.
Wasn't our country formed, though, to break away from this kingdom? I mean, and now...
Yeah.
Well, here, no,
it'd be like folks in London coming to see our plantations because they're pretty on the outside.
Well, don't forget, Great Britain was very supportive of the South.
No, of course they were. I mean,
they wanted the cotton.
But of course they were. I mean, it's complicated.
But the reason we had the revolution is not because we didn't want to be a part of the United Kingdom anymore. It's because we were being taxed without representation. inflation. If they'd knocked that shit off, we might still have King George on all our coins. Crazy bastard that he was. But the one so the thing about the royal family that I think is intriguing is if you're born into it, it's almost like a velvet coffin where you have no say in it. It's really hard to get out of it, and then you're kind of limited, but you're really comfortable. Sure. You know, so if you don't have that much ambition and you like to be fawned on and pampered, it's a pretty cool gig. But if you're that kind of person, you're probably going to screw up because you're douchey, and I guess you could be from a douchey, which is some very clever language.
Yeah, that was
relating to royal families, but which Sean will figure out on the way and be like, damn. But or maybe he'll look it up. But the thing is,
no. I'm from car salesman in Texas.
The Queen has been.
How many times do I have to say that?
I thought you were a fighter pilot. You're a lot of. You're a chameleon, or you like to say a chamalon.
Yeah,
believe it or not,
Stick to the Queen.
He's making a joke about my last name.
No, but the
Windsor.
but the Queen has been able to be, and the royal family has been able to be a rallying point for certain things, like during World War II when they stayed in London when they were being bombed, and when the Queen went to Ireland. After I think it was after the Good Friday Accords, and laid a wreath at the cemetery for some of the Irish Republicans who had been killed. She was, dingbatty, hatted old broad that she was, able to really bring about some positive. I mean, it's crazy that the royal family in any way can contribute because. As this great music critic once said, they're really just a bunch of ugly old Germans.
Yeah, they are.
They are. And they're our rulers. I mean, even to the point
they're
where
a living symbol of that country, right? So of course there's going to be issues with them.
But a lot of young folks over there don't believe in the monarchy at all. Kind of your point about the cures.
Well, I think as they get older, they start to become a little sentimental. I mean, they're corgis, is what they are.
In the same way, you
corgis.
You grow up in a small town and you went out of that town and then you get sentimental about that town, but you don't want to go back.
That could be true, and maybe people are going to bail. Anyway, there's no way that we can have a new wave music segment and not play the Smiths' "The Queen is Dead."